stupid? This is going to bankrupt us. I want out of this now.
How has the brand evolved since 12 months ago when you last on the podcast?
Had a meeting today. There was 28 of us, exploded out of 2 factories. Revenue-wise, 150% bigger than last year.
I called and I go, you're not going to believe it. Guess who just called me? Priceline. And they want to place over $1 million. And they reviewed our samples and they came back and said that they love them, but however, there's no demand for us over there. No one knows who we are. So I said, fuck it, I'm going to fly over there. I'm going to stand out the front of your stores and make me in demand. Stay in your own lane. If we were both doing what Adam's doing, probably wouldn't work. Just don't fight.
It's intense, but you choose it to be intense. So I think it's important that it's like, oh, it's hard. I chose it to be hard. So I'm acknowledging that I've put us into a challenge. The challenge was laid out by me to the team. Let's work backwards from that. And it's as simple as that.
Just quickly before we get started, guys, if you've been enjoying the podcast, can I please ask that you consider leaving a 5-star review and subscribing on whatever platform you've been listening? It really helps the podcast grow.
All right, welcome back, Raquel. Adam, welcome for the first time now. About a year ago, time flies, we're just chatting. Raquel was on the podcast talking about Who is Elijah, the brand that you guys have built over the last, how long has it been since launch now? 5 years-ish?
Yeah, we just celebrated our 5th birthday in October.
Happy birthday to Who is Elijah.
Thank you.
Well, I want to start with a little bit of a recap of where you were and then, how far you've come in a year, which is pretty impressive, the growth that you've experienced. Now, Adam, it'll be the first time that our listeners have met you, so I want to get to know you a little bit more. But before we get into that, whoever wants to take it and run with it, Raquel, Adam, you guys can work it out. For those that might not have heard the episode you're on last year or haven't, again, if they've been hiding under a rock and haven't heard of Who is Elijah, how would you explain the brand and what you guys are?
Well, they smell really fucking good.
Well, by the way, every single person in this room is wearing Who's Elijah, and there's probably about 3 different scents.
Yeah, it's all going
Before
around.
we got here.
Yeah.
So Who's Elijah? It started, I know, classic story. It started in the garage just over 5 years ago. The idea came from us going to Coachella kind of separately. But then I asked him to be my boyfriend. And from Coachella, I met someone and she just smelled amazing. And it was an oil fragrance from India. Long story short, started wearing it back at home and had so many people coming up to me all the time, tapping on the shoulder. Excuse me, what fragrance are you wearing? And it was a rosé-induced light bulb moment.
Yeah.
And it worked.
You'd be surprised the amount of founders I've had on the podcast. How they start? It was actually a couple of red wines deep, and that's how all the best ideas are born now. Where you guys were last year, you're already killing it, but as we all know now, well obviously I know you guys and I've followed your journey. You've grown a lot. Tell me where the brand was last year, and you don't have to give exact figures and stuff if you don't want to, but kind of how has the brand evolved since 12 months ago when you last on the podcast?
12 months ago, November last year, if we're going to just go exact.
Yeah, let's do it.
We didn't have any major wholesale accounts. Like we didn't have Priceline. We didn't have Sephora or any of these guys overseas. And our online sales were like, okay, we had agencies running our stuff. We had maybe 7 staff total down there in the warehouse and upstairs. And today, fast forward, in 250 Priceline stores, total 650 doors in Australia.
Just in Australia, that's nuts.
Just in Australia. David Jones, Sephora. We have in-house marketing now, and our whole team, we had a meeting today. There was 28 of us.
That's pretty cool.
Combined from warehouse to upstairs. We've got machinery. We've exploded out of 2 factories. So we'll be in a new big warehouse next year.
Launch into the UK.
Launch properly into the US. Revenue wise, like probably 150% bigger than last year.
Massive.
And we haven't hit Black Friday yet.
Yeah. Black Friday starts tomorrow. For you, this episode will probably go live in like two or so weeks. So, very much will be in the midst of Black Friday. Everyone will be pumping out time now. Really impressive growth. Before we get into, obviously there's a lot of components I want to talk about. Obviously retail will be a big one. I love the work you do, Raquel, with getting the attention of these big international retailers. And I obviously want to talk about, Adam, how you took the Ecom, the marketing in-house, and all the problems to look out for with agencies and how you've been able to scale that. But just for a little bit of background on you, Adam, what were you doing before you started the business? I know you're in business yourself, I believe, in construction or something like that, from my memory serves me correctly. But tell me about kind of your experience before Who's Elijah.
Yeah, I had a few businesses. So in 2013, so 10 years ago now, I started a joinery design business. I was an apprentice back in the day, cabinet maker, and finished my apprenticeship, hated it, went and traveled the world with my mates, came back and had a couple of opportunities come my way, and sort of my mum was like, you should start your own thing. So I just went, fuck it, I'll just start my own joinery design business. And I ran that business from 2013 for 8 years. We had, we did $200,000 kitchens for the best houses in Australia. We did all of the big and beautiful homes that you see in Sydney. Like, we were the joiners making the cabinets in there, which was really cool. Over the 8-year period, I started listening to a lot of the, the OG, Gary V's, Ty Lopez's, those guys. And I really knew that I wanted more than what I was doing in joinery, and that there was essentially a ceiling on growth when you have a construction business. So I started a business with my mate after a couple of glasses of wine, and it was called Nice Ties Finish Last.
Yeah, cool.
And it was a bow tie company. And we made cool bow ties and it sucked, but
they were nice.
I actually got it into a partnership with Gary V and Venus Sports.
Yeah.
And we were the bow tie accessory company for about 10 NFL athletes for the whole season.
Sick.
Which is like a cool thing, when I think back and think about it.
How'd you pull that off? How'd you get that deal across the line?
He sent out a DM like when he only had 2 million followers, and he's like looking for an accessory company for Venus Sports. And I said, hi, I do accessories. Yeah. Just hit him back on the DM and got linked up with Tyler, his assistant.
Yeah, I know Tyler.
And then sent stuff over to them, went over there for the meeting, got approved somehow. Like, this was a garage backyard thing. And I'm like, Gary Vee wants to do my stuff, which is cool. So we did that for a while. And then my mate that I was doing it with, he didn't want to do it anymore. And it sort of fizzled out because I had no idea about Ecom.
What year was this? Like, paint the picture.
This is 2015.
Okay, so like pretty OG, like Shopify just starting to pop.
We were building
different back then.
We were building custom sites, and like Klaviyo and all that wasn't really a thing.
Not what it is now anyway.
It was all hard. So I was doing that while I had the kitchen business. And then once I launched the bow tie brand, this was like influencer early days.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, we need to be able to transact in the moment and not go to a website. And it just sort of clicked to me after we did the partnership with Gary. No sales came through these NFL guys. And I'm like, well, why? And I'm like, we need to fix that. Let's start a company where you can actually transact in the photo. And so I rang my brother, and he'd built a weird little app at that time, like a travel app. And and I said, I want to do this, and I want to call it Snap Pay. You're going to take a screenshot of your photo of your phone, and you're going to be able to purchase the products inside it instantly. And that's it. And we both went with it, and it went quite a way. We started developing it. It got to the point where we had 200 brands on it, Q Clothing. We had about 10,000 users on it, and we're trying to get funding for it after about 2 or 3 years, and it just fell on its face.
Yeah. So easy when it's a tech thing like that. You just soak up so much money, so much time, everything. So I had the kitchen bit all going at the same time, the kitchens, the ties, and the app. And then Who's Elijah came along, and I sold the kitchen business thinking that I would go full-time into the app. Mm-hmm. The app failed. So I'm like, what am I going to do? What do you put that down to? Obviously, that industry is one in however many make it. It's really tough. But to get pretty far, you must have done some things right. What was the lessons?
We had some really big meetings. Like, we met with Nick and Anthony from Afterpay. We met with Larry from Zip. We met with all the big brands, Iconic. Everyone loved it. So we continuously had this like motivation to keep going, because they said, do this and we'll have it, and do this and we'll have it. And it was just ended up being this sort of like hamster wheel of, they said, if we do this, that they'll take it. So we'll just do it and see what happens.
Yeah.
And we ran out of money. at the end of the day. And we just couldn't get that traction in those tech platforms. You need traction or you need significant credibility as a founder. And I didn't have credibility because I was a cabinet maker and I wasn't ex-Shopify or ex-Facebook or ex-Google. So no one took us seriously. We got into the rooms with people, but once we got in there, we had no like credibility to lean on. So that's what I believe. If I started it now on the back of Who's Elijah, I'd probably get some more credibility.
Yeah, it would be a lot easier to raise capital as well off the back of that.
Off the back of that. So I had the tech like brain and the mechanics of how to put things together, and literally with kitchens, but actually, with digitally with apps. And then the NTFL, it all just came together in this weird way. And when we didn't succeed in getting funding, Who Was Elijah was just finding its feet. We'd got the first delivery of stuff to our apartment and I was like making room for it and we were figuring out how to do it. And I'll go and clean the garage out because we need to get more, we need more stock to go in the garage. And then we need to get more stock. We've got to go to a warehouse in a shed in Kurnell. So I'll go and make the shelves and I'll like try as much as I can to like make it neat for us. And then obviously I was attached to the business every day. We started to employ people. And then I started to lean on it a bit because Raquel was struggling at times. And I just came in one day. I said, I'm just going to do all of this from now on. And that this is going to change to this. And you just go over and do product and do amazing things. Let me help you with this because I can see that, you need to be over here. You need to be over here doing this and I can handle all of this. And I just really loved it the minute that I got there. I love it so much. And I lean on all those previous, I've been in business since I was 22 years old now. So it's not I've been there for 2 years. Like I've had 10 years, 11 years of, battling away. So I do get it.
I was wondering what that conversation was like how it comes up and was there any hesitation from both sides? But it seems like both of you, it kind of just lined up perfectly with where you're at. And there was
the conversation. It just kind of happened.
It just happened.
Yeah. No, I don't think we sat down and went, okay, well, I want to do this or like, do you need help with this?
Here's a contract.
Yeah. No, there was no sign.
I'm going to need you to sign right here quickly.
Yeah. No, it was just, we both, obviously a husband and wife and, we've got kids and everything. And it just like, I think very fortunately for us, we love Who Is Elijah so much and we're so passionate about it probably mentally in different ways. But we're both attached to the same goal, driving as hard as we can. And we just stay in our own lanes.
With that app, one last question on that. What's the closest thing that's been developed now? Is there anything that's done that, nailed that yet? Or
I watch it closely, the space, because we have our tech sitting there still.
Yeah.
And there's Depop is very similar.
Okay, yeah.
But Depop is an in-app and a closed community. Our app allowed you to do what you do on Depop, but every platform.
Wow.
So you could attach a product to an image. The image would turn into a website by itself and you could purchase the product from the image. You could send the image link as a URL anywhere.
Interesting that it hasn't been fully scaled and rolled out to the market at that point.
Maybe we should do it again.
I know it's sitting there and there's a part of me that's like watching all the big tech guys and the social guys try and do it. And I'm like, if I could just come into your office, I could show you how to do it.
Maybe sell the tech because we won't say who, but there's that other company that
failed.
are sort of in the same position because they got funding right before sort of you decided to stop this and that and they haven't gone any further.
Yeah. So
it's because they didn't have the tech, but we've got the tech.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, but it's something that sits there for me. But, I watch the big guys and see them try. And I feel like sometimes you just all need to get together and huddle it out and go, all right, let's just do this the right way because it needs to be done.
You're both so passionate about who is Elijah, but I said a lot of entrepreneurs, myself included for sure, obviously look at the podcast and everything else.
Yeah.
You get all these, you get experience in business and then you get addicted to the thrill of building something, creating something new. Do you guys ever have to be settle down, let's focus on this one thing? Do you get attracted by these other ideas? I know you launched a sub brand Perfume X, which is a really fun kind of maybe Gen Z targeted brand or a little bit younger. How do you guys, deal with that? Do you guys want to just make sure this is your focus? Are you open to dibbling and doubling in different things?
I think Perfume X At least it's kind of the same product.
For sure, yeah.
So, I mean, thought I would launch it this month, but I think we're going to launch it in March now just because I'm a bit hectic.
For sure.
But I feel like that's maybe it's like not a different product type. So maybe it's not going to be as crazy. Definitely targeting the more Gen Z. We've already got some really big retailers that want to come on board. So we're going to sort of just only do the major retailers with this one, just make it a little bit easier.
I think what we did try another business together and it failed miserably in COVID. But I do think that the two of us have looked around at other things, but there's finding a shiny new toy, right, which everyone is guilty of. And I used to do this a lot, find a shiny new toy or go and create a new one inside your existing business. So like, what is the shiny new thing for Who is Elijah? It's the US. All right, well, let's just go and do that. And let's not go and be property developers and go and, do a water company or so, like, let's just pick this lane and stay at it.
Yeah, it's so like you follow Homozy, I imagine.
Yeah.
Like he put out a post in the last week or two about like, the bullshit fallacy that, the average millionaire has 7 income streams.
Yeah.
As someone that now has multiple businesses and projects, I'm telling you, if you want to make money, just do one
Just
fucking
do
thing.
one.
Yeah.
It's so much easier. Like this is my ADHD brain that, needs to do multiple things, but I've made money. I don't need to like, this is like, once you've done one thing and done it really well, then you can start trying. But so many people will come to me and like, I've got these 3 great business ideas. I'm going to try to build them all at the same time. I'm like, no, trust me. One's hard enough. But if you like, it's just like the law of compounding. If you can put all your energy and all your brain power, then like there's that whole energetic law of the universe and visualization, law of attraction. You put that into one thing. Look how much you guys have grown in a year because you've both had solid focus on that one thing. It's fucking crazy. Now, let's start talking about some of those growth factors. But I think we can't really talk about the growth that's happened without talking about kind of the problems that were evident in the business before you guys, I don't know what happened, how you guys came together and decided we're going to pivot this way and we're going to do it like this. And obviously things have worked out great. But what was where was the problems in the business before? I know there was a few things like retailers in the UK or partners in the UK and the agency problem. Paint the picture of kind of where you're at before you got this clarity and move forward in this new direction.
The agency was definitely the biggest problem. Drained our bank account.
Yeah, we were in a position. So if we rewind 12 months ago to November, we were growing organically quickly and we didn't know how or why, right? This is a good thing and a problem at the same time. And not knowing how the assumption is it'll just keep going, right? So at the time we had an agency that was doing okay, to be fair. And I just didn't think that this person was going to be good enough to get it to continue the momentum and get us to the next stage. So in November last year, I moved us to a different agency. And that was where everything started to go wrong for us. But it also got us to where we are now. And I'm glad we did it, but we went through hell.
Yeah.
But we went to the new agency and like most people that are probably listening, you don't actually know what the agencies do or how they do it, why they do it. They give you this monthly report with some cool pictures on it and it says, keep going, good stuff. Right? and we'll keep spending your money and we'll take you to lunch.
Yeah.
So we were starting to see like the agency that we were using was spending like so much money and just the return was starting to get really bad. And admittedly, I didn't know what they were doing or if it was bad, if it was as bad as we thought it was. But it was when I looked, but it was trying to understand how bad it was. And then at the same time, we decided to launch into the UK with this big global partner. And they, sold us the dream and they took us down this rabbit hole of building websites and all this stuff. When it came to the day where we had to talk about revenue expectations and marketing allocation, they just said, oh yeah, how much are you willing to spend? Let's say $1,000 a day for the year, 300 grand a year, £300,000 a year. And the expected revenue was going to be £200,000. And they thought that was a good go. And I was like how you are now.
Yeah.
I was like,
we told them to stop.
Do you guys know numbers? Are you guys joking?
Yeah.
And they're like, that's good. I'm like, what do you mean it's good? What about the cost of the product? What about the cost of the operations? What about the whole business?
We would have been
It's got to
bankrupt.
survive off this. And they couldn't figure it out. So I got the CFO of this company that has 80,000 employees on the call. I said, are you fucking stupid? And he's like, what do you mean? I'm like, what do you mean? What do you mean? This is going to bankrupt us. I want out of this now.
Yeah.
That's fucking mental.
And we're still trying to get out of it
We're
properly.
in an almost legal battle with them.
Really?
Yeah.
So
And that stuff is legal battles when you're in business is such a killer because it's the money, and obviously lawyers are very expensive, particularly international lawyers, but it's the brain capacity that
They tried to charge us 300. What was it? How many? $300,000 to get out of the contract.
Out of the contract.
But we refused.
So that all happened early this year. A bad agency, bad deal over there, nearly bankrupt us. To be completely fair. Then
Tears.
what's paint the picture you guys at home, like how do you guys keep each other up, like, and not just be like let the defeatist attitude, because you're both in it. Like usually if there's one partner's got one business and one's working a job or another business, you're not both experiencing the highest highs and lowest lows at the same time. You guys both were. What's the mood around the house when you're just like, fuck, babe?
I wish I could show you a video. But very different. I go for the jugular, say fuck a million times and scream and yell. He's very calm, then waits for me to settle down and delete my email before I send it.
Just type it up and delete it. Best
I don't know, but there's some, I don't know, the universe looks out for us though, because I think we do go through these really, really tough times. And this particular time, I think it was in April, like we had no money and I was just like, Adam, we've got no money. And it's like, these people have taken all of our money from us. The ads aren't working. Like, what do we do? Wholesalers aren't paying. Like on paper, like we've got money, but it's not in the bank account. And then I'm at home and I just had surgery and I was on pain meds. I'm sitting on the lounge crying my eyes out, like hyperventilating, thinking like I'm a failure, because it's 4 years in and I was like, we shouldn't be going through these fucking problems anymore. Like, of course, but like not to that extent. Yeah. And then he rushed home and he's like, it's going to be okay. He goes, that's right. We'll go and do certain things and I'll go
fire the agency. We'll get out of the contract.
Fire everyone, everything. And then before you got back to the office,
which is a 2-minute drive.
It was about a 5-minute drive. I called him. I go, you're not going to believe it. Guess who just called me? Priceline, and they want to like place like over $1 million order. I think it was like 1.7.
It was a wig out. It was like I was driving back to the factory and like, all right, game mode, let's go. And then I turn around half before I even got there, and I get back and she's like happy tears, like, from sad tears to happy tears. I'm like, what? And she's shaking. She's like, Priceline you had never even emailed us.
So this was you weren't already like in discussions?
No discussion, so just a random mobile number.
So
how did they even get your number?
So how it happened was the buyer that got us into Adore Beauty like 3+ years ago, she left Adore Beauty and started working at Priceline. And she wasn't working in the fragrance category, but she told Bridget, who actually now works for Who's Elijah.
That's cool.
She told Bridget, like, you have to get Who's Elijah, because Bridget ran the fragrance category. You have to get Who's Elijah on the shelves. They sell like crazy for us. And that's all it was.
So out of nowhere, you get a phone call, no discussions, no decks, no pictures, no samples.
I sent all of that after the initial phone call, but
not before.
Yeah.
Not before, no. So, but like after like a certain time, like your brand's out there. Like,
of course.
They had been, admittedly, they said that they had been watching us for a while. So they obviously want to see how you build up your socials and like all of that stuff. But I think that was in April and we soft launched in May, hard launch in June.
Yeah. And
had money again at the end of June.
So that moment, now I like to talk about this as well, because obviously we talk about a lot of the problems and the challenges that entrepreneurs go through, and it isn't all sunshine and rainbows, as we all know. But what is that night like you get home and you're just like, fuck, like, of course we've got this, but look at this. How do you celebrate those wins?
Yeah, I think we just like sat on the lounge, we had a glass of wine, and it's just like that complete sense of like release and like let go.
Yeah.
And something I did say throughout the time while we're getting the order ready and waiting for the money was our like whole like, thoughts about the business changed, obviously, but we hadn't got $1 from them yet. So we were still in the financial spot.
Cash flow
day to day. But we were happy because something was coming. Yeah. But we didn't have it for 2 or 3 months, and we still were like, everything's fine, everything's good, which it was. So
was that invoice paid in one go, like at the end of the month, whatever the term? So fuck, that would be
So it was.
We went to Europe like 2 days before.
2 days later, but we had and that was in March and April. We had the bad start. Then we actually called Paul, one of our advisors. We just spoke about Paul Waddy, and he came to the office for the first time, and we were in this spot, this panic before Priceline. And he's like, fuck, I wish I got here sooner, guys. Like, talk to me. And I just laid it all out to him. And he's like, guys, it's not as bad as you think. You know how we said before, he just clearly sees problems for what they are.
Yeah.
And he just goes, guys, you're doing good. Everything's fine. Do this, this, and this. So we had that like sense of relief as well from him. We had the sense of relief from Priceline. And then we had the marketing agency, got rid of them. And I took on the ads in-house, which is an awesome thing we should talk more about. But we killed it on an end of financial year sale, which was June 30, 2 days after we got the Priceline money. So we just like, all of a sudden we went from like, we're in trouble here to like, let's go.
The best period that the business has ever experienced.
And that's why from June till now, I was just saying to the team before, we went from 8 to 28 people, machines, all these stockists. And it was because of that phone call from Priceline and the change in agency, which, has been the best thing for us.
Best thing for sure. Now you get the order. I believe it was like 40,000 bottles of
42,000.
42,000 bottles.
Yeah.
You had like a team of 7 or something at that time. How do you how do you react to be like, okay, sweet, we got the order. But we need to produce it, bottle it, and make this actually exist before we can even think about getting the money.
Yeah. Well, we had some time. I think we had 6 weeks to fill it, but we didn't have any machines.
You were hand filling it, right?
We were hand filling.
Even 42,000 bottles.
Crazy.
Literally. So it did take us 4 so weeks. It came in like 2 separate POs. So the first one was just 10 mils. I think, how many was that?
10 mil was like the stick one?
Yeah. So that might have been like 10,000 bottles. So we had to deliver that first. And then the next one was the 42,000. And it kind of shut down
the whole business
for about 6 weeks or so.
Yeah.
But that's when we started to bring on more people, wasn't it?
Yeah, we had no choice.
Yeah.
And we had like late nights and,
the girls were doing like 12-hour days.
Like we were there till 8 o'clock at night and just going for it. So
those war room days are the best, particularly when you're at war for a good reason.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and just coming off like one of the most turbulent, challenging periods, it must feel so much sweeter. It's like when you're building something and it's like there's a lot happening and like things are breaking as you scale, and then the whole team is like really gets tight and comes together for like that bigger purpose, for this vision that's all of a sudden starting to click after all these years of hard work. It wasn't just one phone call that came out of it.
Yes,
it just happened to come at a really interesting time of the story. Now, how do you go from 7 to obviously 28 in a year, or probably I wouldn't be surprised if it's 30 by the time this episode comes out.
By the time we get back to the office.
Now, we obviously spoke last time you were on, Raquel, about some challenges with potentially hiring too soon and navigating that. How have you guys been able to hire over 20 people in a year? Has anything changed around your thought process or processes around bringing people into the business?
Well, most of the staff that we have hired, or a good chunk of them, have been in the warehouse. So they're quite easy. I want to say easy hires, but the sort of our existing staff just go and hire people that they already know. And kind of that's how everyone got hired. But then we started hiring upstairs staff, so like our office employees. So who we got? We got an e-commerce manager. We desperately needed that role. So now I think we hire based on almost desperation, because it makes us almost feel a little bit safer that we know that we need that hire
rather than hiring too early.
Yeah.
Like, fuck, I hope we can
Would you
go
say
to the
that?
point we can keep you on.
Yeah. And I mean, we hired like 4 people in a week, didn't we, at one stage?
Yeah. Yeah. We've been, I think last time we we're still doing this like friends connection, even for some of these more senior roles. And we put the ads out this time. We did, better at hiring processes. We're not perfect at it, but we definitely did better at like interviews. And we had Paul sitting on some interviews and he asked questions that we just didn't know to ask. And, I think we can easily, both of us, say, yeah, you're good. No worries. You can have a job, but, we really should be like, there's probably 4 other people that are as good. So we need to look at all of them.
Yeah.
And it's that, saying that you, hire slow and fire fast, and we're probably still hiring.
Hire slow,
fire fast. Yeah, we're probably still hiring.
Yeah, well, it's one of those things that it's like a little bit goes against like what you think your instinct would be, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's definitely gotten better at it. We've got a great team upstairs now. So, going into this tomorrow, Black Friday, like I don't know what we would have done if we didn't have these people.
Yeah.
And they're such a good team.
What was the most considered role that you've had to hire for upstairs, do you think?
Well, Bridget was the buyer that got us into Priceline. So she actually ended up leaving Priceline while I was in America recently. And we got like an email saying, oh, farewell, Bridget. And that because when Adam and I first spoke to Bridget when she was getting us into Priceline, we both looked at each other and were like, fucking, we need to hire her. She's fucking phenomenal. And then I saw this email and I said to Adam, I was like, should I text her? Like, I think we should hire her.
And I said, text her immediately.
So I texted her and she called me and I was like, oh, what are you going to do? And she's like, oh, I've got some interviews. I'm like, okay. I'm in LA. I'm back on Friday. Do not take a job. I want you to work for me. Do you want to work with us? And she's like, fuck yes.
That's hectic.
And I hired her on the spot as soon as I got home.
Yeah. And so what's she leading, like retail expansion?
The wholesale, like global sales account manager. She taught us so much. Like,
it's pretty much like the B2B,
no wonder we had no
B2B
money.
director of the business. She does the whole B2B side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, on the flip side, we will get back more into the retail stuff because I do want to chat about that. But like you said, I want to talk about taking the ads in-house. Before we do that, obviously, agencies can be great. You would have had good partners. You would have bad partners.
Yes.
But what's some of the warning signs that business owners, Ecom business owners can look out for when maybe you know a little bit about Facebook ads, but you haven't really run it yourself too much, and it can be very easy for these reports to make everything look like sunshine and rainbows. But you know they don't see the P&L, they don't really care about their margins. They're just trying to look good and whatever these couple of metrics. What are some of the warning signs, the things to look out for to make sure that you're not getting taken advantage of purposefully, or maybe it's just not working and they don't understand that? Yeah,
I think two things. But one thing is that if they try to make it sound really hard to do, it's not that hard. Once you figure it out, the step by step, it's not that hard. And that if the agency is incentivized to spend more money, meaning that the retainer is $8,000 a month or say $10,000 a month, but once you get to $100,000 a month in spend, then they take 10% of spend.
Bad spend,
right? So immediate red flag. Why do they need more for do it? Like so everyone listening knows there is no more work required in your account to turn the budget spend from $1,000 to $2,000. It's a 1 second click.
Sorry, right? Every agency.
So every agency out there, like that's a problem, right? But there's no extra effort required. There might be some basic setup stuff, but you know, that's detailed stuff. But if they are incentivized to spend more of your money, get out. Do not do it. And, you know, if they book in monthly lunches for you, get out of it. Like, what is lunch for? I don't want lunch.
It's a waste of time.
Don't make me money.
Meetings for the sake of meetings are so stupid anyway.
Yeah. So incentivized spend is important. And if they, you know, are very sort of fluffy with how they explain return on ad spend and how they explain impressions, how they explain how much the costs click, if you don't know those terms, then they're going to continue to confuse you on purpose.
Yeah.
And I've got a good mate who's got a great agency, and I love the agency that he's got, and I'm proud of him for everything he's done. Some of the biggest brands in Australia have used his agency. So I'm not ripping on all agencies, but I'm just ripping on the ones that are purposely coming for you to confuse you and to get their retainer. So yeah, it frustrates me because I was like so there recently, and I know so many brands that are there, and they just don't even know they're there.
So what's the catalyst for you taking it in-house? Were you already having thoughts of trying it yourself? So where do you go? Like, what triggers the decision, and then how do you realize, fuck, I got to do this myself now? Yeah.
So we were obviously going through the problems with, you know, overspending and not getting return. And I started to see, which people probably listening would have seen also, ads for this guy called Jay Wright.
Yeah.
And he just kept popping up at the right time. And I'm going through my frustrations, and I'm like, I'll give it a go and see what happens. And I just went in there, you know. Additionally for us, to give more context, was that we just got the Priceline deal. So if I failed for 2 months, it didn't
had a
matter.
Bit of runway, right?
So I had some runway. So that was like a bit of relief for me and the company, that we could sort of fail online for 2 months and we'd be fine.
We're already failing anyway.
And we're already failing before. So like,
didn't have to pay a
what's the
retainer.
worst going to be? We don't have to pay the 10 grand retainer. So
10 grand retainer's nuts, by the way.
Crazy.
Just quietly.
Yeah.
Fucked up.
Crazy. So I did Jay's course and ended his community, and it was just like this perfect piece of the puzzle that was just like step by step community that teaches you and helps you. Lots of support. And I know I'm giving him a rap, but like it's really changed our business. But then we went through the training, and I remember we pressed the button. We were at the Crown for a birthday or something. I'm like, I'm nervous to like turn all the other ones off and turn these on.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, do I do it?
And these are the ones you built yourself.
These are the ones I built myself. And I'm like, have I pressed the campaigns correctly and all that? And then I remember doing it, and all day and all night I was just on my laptop watching watching the attribution hit. And I'm like, oh, that one got 20 ROAS, that one got 5, and gave me confidence that we could do it. On the first month, we matched the existing agencies. The second month, I was beating the existing agencies. And then the third month, we did end of financial year sale. And I put that together in 3 days because I didn't know how to run a sale before. And, we did 5,500 orders, which was pretty much 5 months worth of revenue.
Crazy.
Previously. We did 5,000 orders in 2 days. And it just like nearly broke us, but like we could get the mechanics of the ad account to do it. And it just gave me this confidence that we can do this in-house, and we can build our marketing budgets, and we can build our branding in-house. So it's great.
So fundamentally, without getting too nitty gritty, what were some of the fundamental changes, differences in the ad account, was it like the structure of the accounts? Was it the copy? Was it the creative?
Yeah.
What were the kind of fundamental changes that you put into the account?
So our previous agency, he would just run with 5 UGC ads in one broad campaign. That was it. Top of funnel, broad, no exclusions, just broad.
Interesting.
One campaign. Like, what the hell? And you don't know. Then they give you a report on the 5 pieces of content and how they're doing. Oh, we'll see how it goes next month. This is how it did last month. You leave it in there, right?
And 10 grand retainer too.
And 10 grand retainer.
And then saying that the results are good. That was what was frustrating.
And then there was
another repeat of the UK.
Another agency was, they would just like firing all these random campaigns off. There was no structure to it. And there was no like.
Is that one you moved to for a little bit?
One we moved to, yeah. There was no like, structure to it.
I'd say that's even worse.
Yeah.
It's really
way
easy to
worse.
lose money doing that. Yeah.
So with the structure that we have like this, 6, like I call them OG campaigns that are like top of funnel, middle of funnel, and they've got exclusions on them, and it's quite a setup. The ad sets are detailed ad sets and narrowed ad sets. And then the actual individual pieces of content, what I didn't realize before was that you really need to watch every piece of content every couple of days at least to see which piece of content is taking all the money. And which piece of content is burning out, and which piece of content is doing amazing. And you just don't get that with other agencies because you're not in the account every day.
And they just, even if they're great, they're not going to care as much as you.
Yeah.
So
that's the tricky part.
Yeah. And we thought that UGC was the only piece of content we should use for ads. And I started putting product images in there and carousels and collections and all sorts of different versions of ads. And we don't use UGC anymore.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it's just, people just love a standard still static image, which is a product image.
Yeah.
So, we obviously, with some of the other agencies, they didn't know that was going to happen because they never tested anything.
Yeah. And look, it can be different brand to brand.
Yeah.
Maybe UGC
So
works
different.
for all their other brands, but
Yeah.
if it was Elijah, it's clearly different. Now, when you're in the account and you're seeing, okay, these 3 pieces of content are performing really well, not so much these ones, how do you then, what's your process of then, okay, how do you take those learnings and then pass it on to the creative team to be like, we want more like this? What's that process like?
Well, I'll sit with Jazz, our creative manager, and show her and, look in the Dropbox and see what we can get sort of quickly if we need to change quickly. But we aren't at that stage yet, which we will probably after Black Friday. We're not at that stage where I'm doing full like presentations on things that are working, things that aren't working. I'm just looking at it very closely and I'm grabbing stuff from social. I'm grabbing stuff from our Ecom imagery, or I'm, saying stop sending me UGC because it's not working anymore. Don't spend money on creators anymore. So it's quite a me responsible for me thing at the moment. But we will look to build it out eventually because, I just can't do it all.
Do you guys have a studio you guys should make one because you've got a team of how many girls? You won't need to ever hire UGC creators again.
Yeah.
You can film whatever you want on the spot.
Yeah.
And you can test the littlest things. You can get content in idea filmed in the ad account in a day. When you get in that new space, I would highly recommend that. And then you'll fucking have some fun making content there as well.
Yeah. And I think, it's not that UGC sort of doesn't work. I think the type of UGC that we were trying to push to people doesn't work. Like this, perfect unboxing that's like this, sparkly, everything's beautiful and everything's amazing. And, I just don't think that works for us. So we just need to find different things. And even my coaches at, Jay's community, they're like, UGC doesn't work for you. Just park it. Yeah. It's
Isn't that interesting? Because for a lot of brands, it probably still works really, really well.
You'd think for us, we would need it, which is why we thought because it's fragrance, you need to talk about it. But I don't know.
Yeah. And I think on the back of us actually, having some credibility in Australia now, people know who we are. They just, have heard through PR or agencies or podcasts that, Who is Elijah is legit. So they just come and find a static image that explains what they want and they go for it. So it's interesting and I'm sure it'll change in a few months, but, it's an everyday thing.
Also as well, part of the process with you guys, you've been around for, like I said, over 5 years now. The room smells incredible. The product will sell itself eventually as well. Yeah. So it's not about always having to, there's so much advice out there for entrepreneurs. You should be doing this, you should be trying that. If you try and action everyone's piece of advice, you're just going to run yourself so thin and it's not going to work. So I love that you guys took that in-house and took those learnings. But what creatives, I know the static and then we'll move on because I know we're spending a bit, but there are a lot of Ecom listeners in the podcast. What sort of content for those static images, flat lays, what sort of content really pops off in terms of the high converting piece of creative for you guys?
I think it's this, it's like a flat lay lifestyle image of the product, just like on some sheets or on some sort of background that's different and just really clean and crisp. Can see the bottle, can see the name of it. Not blurry. It's not confusing. It's like, this is Nomad. This is how we have it. This is how much it costs. Because I think a lot of people just don't put the price of something on it because they think why would we tell people the price? We want them to come to the website and find out the price. Well, you got to get them there first.
Yeah.
So we'll put the price on most of the static content and just being trying to mix it up sometimes. So sometimes it's cruelty-free, hand-filled, Australian, loved. And then an A/B test is yours forever, memories forever, less UPS, USP, less more lifestyle and emotion driving copy.
On your website, do you guys break down the notes and the scents and things in it like that? Yeah.
A little bit of a fragrance story and then the notes.
That's cool.
And there's a fragrance story in the notes and, when we read the notes, my assumption is that no one knows what these things smell like. No one knows what amber smells like. If I tell you it's got amber and jasmine, I don't expect you to know what that smells like. So
some people do.
Some people do, but yeah.
But there's an emotion attached to what the perception of that word smells like regardless.
Right. Yeah.
Amber, ooh.
Yeah.
But what we do put on there, we have 3 descriptive words for all fragrances. So you read it and it's a woody floral fragrance or smoky. So it kind of trying to put everything on there so someone will know what something means.
Yeah. And when you guys rolled out your rebrand, so that was earlier in the year, how long ago was the rebrand?
Launched in January. Yeah.
Did the website get a bit of an overhaul when you guys did the rebrand or?
Yeah, we redid the proper new website that we have now a little bit after that.
But we had some.
Not too long ago.
We had some troubles with the website and our developers over the years.
Right. Another agency.
We had someone do it in the beginning, an agency, I think. Oh, that's right. And then we had another guy do it who was just lone wolf, traveler, remember? And he was in Jordan.
That was ages
and then he
ago.
disappeared. And we
I've
just
had
had
a dev
we had
disappear as
no
well.
one to do it.
Yeah.
So we had the site running. We couldn't make any changes. Not that we
Yeah, that's right.
remember.
Yeah.
And then we got
Are you guys on Shopify or?
Yeah. Yeah. And then we got an agency to help us out and they sort of like stuffed it. So then we spent 40 grand on getting a proper, Shopify partner
clean
built
from the
clean.
start.
So those
He's
guys,
great. We still work with him now.
yeah, Will's great. So, it was a really good thing that we did. And then we just split out the sites into 4 sites for US, UK, Australia and New Zealand. That was a bit of like a logistics thing. You think we'll just set up 4 locations, but it's like all the apps and all the shipping and all the 3PLs. It's like when you start to unravel these projects in the business, you can find yourself in like a lot of work to do, but we did it all before Black Friday and, we've just set it all up. So yeah.
Yeah. We'll get into Black Friday preparation in a minute, what that looks like, but I want to talk to Raquel's awesome trips. As you said, you're a little bit tired. You've been jetting all over the place. Now, for those that don't follow you, explain kind of the motive behind these trips, kind of guerrilla style marketing activations to get recognized by, obviously, like these retailers in Australia. You've built brand, people know who you are, they've watched you, and then you just get a random phone call for $1 million order.
Yeah.
Maybe in the US and the UK, obviously the brand isn't there yet. How do you go and then force your way into in front of the faces from the buyers from these big retailers that would have more stores than most Australian retailers would? So,
well, I actually have a little thanks to give you because of you, we are talking to Ulta.
Oh, sick. Awesome.
Thank you.
No worries.
So I haven't met with them yet. I've offered lots of times to fly over there with them, but they're reviewing right now actually, which is good. But so like the UK, we went to the UK in June because we spoke to Boots. And for anyone who doesn't know, Boots is like Priceline on heaps of steroids. So that would be an amazing partner to have. And they reviewed our samples and they came back and said that they love them. But however, there's no demand for us over there. No one knows who we are. So I said, fuck it, I'm going to fly over there. I'm going to stand out in front of your stores and make me in demand. Haven't got like a yes from them yet, but people that Australian brands that I've spoken to said that that's like a 2-year conversation with them. It's not a quick overnight thing. Like here, like you'd heard like Priceline, we were on the shelves within 2 to 3 months, but it's just so different over there, which I've kind of like finally have learned that I need to be a bit more patient.
Yeah.
So I'm going to pull back on the overseas trips because I looked at how much we spent this year on them and it's pretty bad. Oh, good. I don't know. But I think we just want to be different. Like we're a product that we are able to easily sample in the masses. It's a lot cheaper for us to do that than it is to pay influencers nowadays. Like they're charging way too much.
And they don't convert like they used to.
And they don't convert. So, we're sort of just like doing guerrilla marketing now and it's actually so much more fun.
You guys are doing something unique. Like it's different to, like you said, so many brands. Where do you get the ideas for this stuff? Like you walked around with your little cart through the streets of London. And
well, I think it's like, honestly, I don't know, just like now that we've got all of these employees, a lot of my roles and responsibilities have been taken from me, which is great.
Yeah.
But so now I have time to sort of have that creative thinking time and just sort of focus on that. So I feel like I've been coming up with really good ideas lately.
Yeah, she'll sort of be sitting quiet for some, for some time and then, she'll just come burst into the office and she's like, I want to do this and we're going to go here and we're going to do this. And I'm like, yeah, no worries. Go.
Bye.
Do it. See ya. Or she'll go and talk to, she normally like seeds the idea with Jazz, our creative girl, and both of them will just sort of like, shoot for the stars and just see what they can come up with. And they're going to Boots and getting the 500 samples. Like it didn't start with, let's go get a cart and some T-shirts. It was like, let's go and like throw these in front of everyone and we're all going to need a cart and T-shirt. We'll make content. We'll do all, and it just sort of evolves into this bigger project. But, I'm always like on the edge of my seat waiting for like some idea to come through the door that's going to just change everything. But, sort of it happens.
Here's this idea, Adam. Can you please
can you just go do this?
Yeah.
I'm
Just to prove it.
Yeah.
Have you heard any whispers from any of the kind of higher ups at Boots if they saw what you guys did and saw any of that splash you guys made?
I don't know. They just like don't love a chat, but I'm sure that they did because they definitely would because we emailed the links to like the videos that we did, and their Boots staff were coming out of the Boots stores and coming to get samples as well.
That's probably one of the best things you can do. Get the staff, with their hands on it, and they're gonna like love the product, and then they're gonna be your. And like you said, it's like again another Gary Vee thing, like patience in the macro, but still like fucking doing everything you can in the day to day at the same time. But if you can marry the two and still be like, let's make shit happen as long as like as much as we can each day. So then when your head hits the pillow, like you can sleep knowing you put everything you have, but then not also having the pressure of I need to be in Boots next month. And then that starts to like fuck with your head. And like as an entrepreneur, like there's so many different things at all times. It can be really fucking mental upstairs. And
I feel like everything, like the universe has given us everything when we're actually ready for it. Like if we realistically got an order from Boots tomorrow, we'd have
cancel Black Friday.
We probably would have, but then again, it's probably like a 3-month lead time. But I don't know, like that. It's logistically getting it all over to the UK, and apparently they're a nightmare to ship to. So that's
you're
like
gonna have to set up like a 3PL over there, I imagine.
We've got one in Manchester.
Okay,
But just like you would know how like the logistics that every retailer is different, like how you have to have it delivered and the labeling and all of that. It's almost like we probably have to get our own place or a partner that already shipped to Boots.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That'd be a partner. That have relationships with Boots. But how has it changed? Because we still sell to the, we used to have like a UK subdomain as well, but like, we were still shipping from Australia at that point and all the duties and stuff. Has any of that changed since they've done the Brexit thing and strengthened ties, or is there still like
we only know the way it is now, so I'm not sure what it was before.
Like, do you guys pay like a decent amount of duties when you send product there? Like do your customers have to pay duties, or do you guys have to pay duties?
We ship everywhere domestically.
So we ship to the 3PL and then the 3PL ships. There is, so DHL has DHL like global now for online as well, which they've had for a little while, but you can just connect to your site, I'm pretty sure. And you can distribute anywhere around the world with DHL. So some people will tell you to turn your marketing on to just worldwide and see what sticks versus trying to go for like a specific location.
Setting up
everything and just see what sticks first. Use DHL to get it there. So there's a few different ways, but we always just want the customer to get it as fast as possible. So it's like we have to be shipping domestically with 3PL to do that.
And because we're a dangerous good, like we can only ship with the bloody most expensive freight carrier. So it wouldn't work for us to ship domestic internationally.
And the prices wouldn't be worth it for you guys anyway. Now, obviously, in terms of scaling a business internationally, it's exciting, but there come a lot of challenges and risks with that. How do you, and maybe this is more of an Adam thing, how do you guys kind of like try and future-proof against risks and stuff because like scaling can be great, but a lot of things break and like you can scale and top line could grow, but then you realize, hey, we spent all this time and money and energy and it's actually impacted bottom line negatively.
We, for a while there, we were just, some people can which we did probably in the beginning, you're like, if Kim Kardashian gets our products and posts, then it'll all be amazing and it'll be great. And we sort of, let's just go and throw perfume over the fence sort of thing. But that sort of doesn't work anymore, so you have to go over to these new countries with a plan and plan for that to happen, but don't make it the only plan. Because if that happens and you're not even over there logistically, you're in trouble anyway. So it's cool. You might get 1 million followers, but your business will break overnight. So we just, what we've done is try to go to these locations physically, like Raquel going over there and sampling and seeing what the feedback is and seeing which place sticks the most. And we've had, a lot of good feedback in the US and a lot of good feedback in the UK. So I would meticulously go and try to find a 3PL that's right and not just go to the first one, because a bad 3PL can fuck you.
I've heard real bad horror stories.
So badly. And you can waste months and months of time. You send product over to them, get stuck. For whatever reason, it just can be a nightmare. So you have to be methodical about picking a 3PL first and foremost, after you've found a place that you think will like your product. And then, what I think, you should do is go down back to that guerrilla marketing. For us, we can sample it, get the guerrilla marketing, but get their signups and drive signups in these locations.
Yeah.
So that you can actually see a customer base that you've got to market to. Because you can just go and turn Facebook ads on in the UK with not one person has seen your product, and it could work. But for us, they don't know who we are. They can't smell a picture. So
have you guys tested those, like running many campaigns in the US or UK?
We haven't started yet.
We haven't even started yet.
It's exciting.
Yeah. So we'll start January. You have to spend this amount to get this ad limit up, which but we'll start it in January properly.
Yeah.
And, we've had billboards in Vegas. We've had billboards in LA. We've had samples in UCLA. We've had articles. And yesterday,
Chris Appleton, did you see?
No, I didn't see.
He's Kim Kardashian's hairdresser. He's on their show all the time. And he messaged us probably 2 months ago now saying that he loves his product, him and his now soon to be ex-husband. And someone sent me a link yesterday to his TikTok, and he was getting a get ready with me to go to a Tommy Hilfiger show, and he was spraying Rebel Rose.
Wow.
Not paid or anything.
Not
just
we did not know. But so we sent it straight to Ulta and say, see?
Yeah. Yeah.
So you better fucking get in now.
Yeah.
What was the moment for you guys when influencers still have a role to play?
Yeah.
But what was the moment for you guys when you realized that, hey, influencers aren't really converting like they used to? Did you guys do much macro influencers, or were you more like micro?
We missed the macro influencer era. So when High Smile and you guys went hard at it, best time of social media ever to do it. And on the back of you guys doing so well, then everybody did it. And obviously people just started realizing that they were getting sold to too much. And within about, I would say 2 years of you guys killing it with it, it just sort of went flat.
Yeah.
So what we've done, pay 10 grand a post and pay 15 for this and whatever, and it always fails. There's never been a time, if we think about it, where we've got our money back from it.
That's
never.
Mental.
So what we do with them is we use them to give away stuff. So
our discovery
set we'll say that such and such, million followers, here's $5,000 for the post, but we need you to give away 1,000 discovery sets through the sign up link.
Wow.
So we can,
that works for us.
That works for us.
Like that.
And I can handle the loss of the $5,000, 1,000 signups plus 1,000 people have a product that we wouldn't have got to them before.
Wow.
So we've just started really doing that.
We're just doing that with them. So we did have, again, that was a free discovery set thing that Emily Hembrow,
M Davies,
and M Davies, they've been okay for us. But I think overall, the influencer world is it's not converting.
Yeah, Emily was probably one of the best influencers we work with in terms of conversion. Obviously, we had a product as well that was perfect for influencer marketing because we had a high AOV, which meant if we were only going to spend a few grand and they only got, a few sales, then we can get to that break-even point really quickly. But it was something that was really new and no one had really seen before. So it worked really well. Very Instagrammable. But when we'd got to the stages of spending 40, 50, 60 grand per post, they were the ones.
I couldn't.
Yeah, they were the ones that
didn't work.
And
you want them to work. You're like, yes, this is going to go. It's going to do it, but they just don't.
We've reused that content a lot and got value out of it that way. But the biggest ones, they're too far away from their followers. It's just there's a broken connection there, and it doesn't work like it used to. But it was really fun while it lasted. But I feel another one of the problems is these big corporates they're 5 years behind on everything that's really working. Yes. They're influencer marketing.
Yeah.
Now, so a lot of the influencers that are still doing collabs all the time, they're no longer the SMEs, Ecom startups. They're all these big global international brands, and it's because. Yeah, maybe influence marketing is going to work better than their radio campaign or their newspaper or the TV stuff that they were running, but they don't really understand attribution and they don't care. They're such big companies. They look at everything on such a big broad level, and things are trending up. Yeah, they're happy. Let's put that. But these influencers, if Ecom brands wanted to go and invest in them, their prices are so high. But I don't think these influencers realize they're not it's not actually worth
No.
like this. And if everyone's like, oh, it's a brand thing. Well, unless you're Kim Kardashian or whatever, who fucking cares that, you know what I mean? So it has changed a lot. Now, moving into that Black Friday preparation talk, what does that look like for Who is Elijah? How many different balls you guys juggling to get ready for this big launch tomorrow?
Yeah.
I've had hardly any input.
You've just been too busy flying all over the world, setting up the future. Yeah.
Yeah. It's been like, I don't want like, it's intense, but you choose it to be intense. So I think it's important that it's like, oh, it's hard, but like I chose it to be hard. So I'm acknowledging that I've put us into a challenge, but the challenge was laid out a few months ago by me to the team that I believe we can do, 20,000 orders. Previous best was 5,000 orders. I believe we can do 20,000 orders on Black Friday. Let's work backwards from that. And it's as simple as that when you start. And then it's like, all right, where's the stock coming from? What is the production? We're going to create a new brand. You would have seen the content. It's all different. So content people, marketing people, EDMs, Facebook, all the structure of the Facebook account changes significantly through the sale. All of your, cost of goods analysis is really important. The unit economics is really important. So you don't, say, let's go 60% off and, it doesn't matter how much you make, you're still losing money. Like people do that without calculating it. So it's really important to see the whole thing properly. And with Jay's community, they've got like a dialed in structure of it.
Yeah.
So it was, I just said today, actually, like we had a big team meeting today, just as like a recap of it. And I said, guys, regardless of what happens tomorrow, and I say to Raquel, I'm like, this is like a quarterback NFL Super Bowl moment. This is what Black Friday is for brands if they decide to do this. And, there's a lot that can go right and there's a lot can go wrong. But at the end of the day, the business has changed so much over the 2 months since we've decided to go for this, and look at how far we've come. And regardless of the result, we're a different business because of it.
Yeah.
So logistically, there's, days and days and weeks of changes and meetings and different things. And, you just pick this target and you just say this one sentence of let's go for this. And then the ripple effect is significant. So we'll see what happens.
And is a lot of the preparation in the content?
A lot of the prep's in the content. Yeah. Aside from the product, obviously we make our product, but for like the marketing aspect, which is where you're going to get the reach and how you're going to do that, it's really how we're going to look different to everybody else, and how is our core Who is Elijah OG followers and subscribers going to like commit to the sale. And, you've got this group of these people, these funnels that are middle of funnel and bottom of funnel that are going to really be the ones that drive it. So what value are you going to provide to them? What product combinations can you give to them that are still really profitable, that are once a year things? Hype it up like crazy, tell them it's going to run out of stock, press the button and just see what happens.
Yeah, it's exciting. But honestly, to take the pressure off, which again, it seems like you guys are going to kill it. Black Friday is no longer about a day. It's about a period anyway.
Yeah.
So it's like, how crazy is this whole next week going to be? Like tomorrow, I'm sure there'll be a peak and Friday will be a peak, but there's like, how much will you do over the next week? That's what's going to be really fucking exciting to watch. To be a fly on the wall when watching the sales go up is going to be.
Yeah. I'm not sure if I want the girls to film me like in the moment or film us in the moment, because if something goes wrong, it's like.
Film it yourself. Just film it yourself. Be by yourself. And then it'll be, because that content's also really cool. You never know.
You look back on it.
You look back on it. Yeah. Maybe there's a cool way you can leverage that with yourself in the future. But
yeah, I'm pumped, and I'm pumped for like the team's really like, you force something that they've never done before, that we've never done before, that they, they've got to do all their additional normal day-to-day work, plus build this huge other moment that's never been done. So it's so much work that goes into it.
So in terms of, again, it is a little bit tactical, but I'm really enjoying hearing kind of your thought process behind that. What are some of the channels that you're going to execute on? Obviously, ads is going to be a massive part. Facebook ads, obviously Meta, Facebook and Instagram. Do you guys do TikTok ads at this stage or?
No, we've been slow to the TikTok game.
I just have the ads manager like before I came here.
Yeah.
So we'll do obviously Facebook, Instagram, Google. We'll do SMS, we'll do email.
Email.
And that's it really.
See, and it's not exciting like the amount of units you'll sell doing that and how crazy the revenue numbers will be. And people think it's so complicated, but it's really like, okay, what channels do we have at our disposal?
Yeah.
How do we maximize each of these channels?
Yeah.
And then execute.
Yeah. And I think, you know, for people listening, like grow your SMS list, you know, as much as you can. And that for us is like, it's such a turning a tap on scenario when we send an SMS.
It's instant.
It's instant, you know.
Everyone's on the phone all the time.
And SMS, obviously, if you can learn Ads Manager, you know, give yourself a few months before you decide to do a Black Friday campaign. But yeah, SMS, email, Facebook, if you can dial in those three, that, you know, with the resources that you have, you should be able to crush it.
And in terms of building an SMS list, what's some of the initiatives you guys have run to get data?
We just, you know, giveaways and, you know, like exclusive drops in there, or we'll do a random, like, you know, 3 hours only collectives 40% off. And then we'll like screenshot it and send it to our community that's on email or on social and say, guys, you missed this. So that works.
Yeah.
We've also built a really cool personalized pop-up that's coming that will, if we have someone's email and not their SMS, it will show them the SMS pop-up, and then vice versa.
That's cool.
So that's like little things like that in business as usual, day to day, as the grind goes throughout the year, you'll get a lot of signups from that.
Is rewards or loyalty programs or anything in that vein in the future vision for Who is Elijah?
Yeah.
I know they're harder to execute properly than people.
And people think,
we've talked about, we definitely want to, but it's a lot.
How?
How?
We're launching the app. We're launching the app.
Oh, yeah,
I was like, you didn't know. Yeah, we're launching the app in a week, which is cool, with TapCart, which, you know, I think a lot of people are on.
Yeah.
What else? Yeah, wish list. We're going to launch a wish list. So like those things are like low hanging fruit with a wish list. I think everyone should be on.
So for like your Black Friday or for any big promotions like this time of year with you guys, obviously why your product's so great, it's someone will buy, they'll have one set, they'll go and buy the other, you know, how we got like 10 cents now or getting close to that. There's a range, but there's also LTV repeat purchases.
Yep.
When you're setting up these goals of 20,000 orders, what sort of split do you kind of factor in? Okay, it's going to be 70% returning, 30% new. How do you kind of work out those metrics?
Yeah, well, we went off end of financial year sale, and that was the first big sale that we've run. So if you haven't run a sale before, you're just going to have to do it and see what happens, right? Realistically, or you could do historical data over 12 months, 24 months and see. But people think differently in sale periods, as we know. We want them to think differently. But we set it up. It's counterintuitive because we set it up for existing customers, returning customers. But on the day, I know we'll probably only do 40% returning customers, and the rest will be 60% of new customers.
That's exciting.
So you think that you're building it for existing customers, and then you only access existing customers, and you've got audiences of 200,000 people that can only get them. That's all they can get. But on the day, you know, crazy how many new people come to the site to do it. So, you know, you also do a lot to the Facebook ads, top of funnel, excluded audiences, so that people that you exclude everyone that's been on your site for 30 days or 90 days, and you're genuinely going to cold people that have never seen you before. If you have an offer that is significant, up to 40% off, giving away 10 grand cash, free this, free that, then of course they're going to come.
Yeah.
If they've seen us in Priceline or David Jones, and you know they've been given a sample by the girls somewhere in a line somewhere, then they're going to come through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, in terms of as you guys look to and we'll start to wrap up. I want to talk to you about a couple last things. But as you guys look, obviously you've had all this growth. Now you look to how we get to the next stage of where we want to be, where you've set your landmark goals of where you want to be as a brand. Obviously, retail growth is massive, but for you in terms of growing the business in Ecom, what are you guys focusing on more? Is it acquiring new customers, or is it increasing LTV with the customers you already have?
Both.
Yeah.
I've had.
Yeah. You can speak.
I haven't been speaking much this time.
Raquel's had her own.
I've really set. What's that word? I really stepped away from work a little bit.
Yeah.
So I said to Adam the other day, I was in Woolworths, and I just called him and I was like, "Can we start almost giving away 10,000 discovery sets every month. Like if I stop doing these overseas trips because they're I think we've done what we've needed to do.
Yeah.
It costs so much money. And, if we're getting an extra 10,000 customers a month, like we'll quadruple our database in a very short period of time. So we're going to start doing that from like January, February. And like the cost of that acquisition is way cheaper than Facebook ads.
Yeah, it's definitely new customers acquisition.
So how would you give away 10,000 discovery sets?
Well, that's probably going to be the hard part because like that's a lot of product to give away. But wanting to do it, I don't know if the right word, digitally, like we'll run Facebook ads to do it. Influencers are very good at this because everyone wants a free product.
So you'll say you post this, put a little link where that people
little code or whatever it's however we're going to set it up. Yeah. So like M Davies did a post for us recently, and then we said, hey, do you want to give away some free discovery sets? I think she gave out 1,000 in an hour.
Yeah.
That's fucking cool.
Yeah. So, but I think we're not going to do it free. I mean, we can't give away like 10,000 free every month. So we might do $10 plus shipping. So they can pay $15 for like a $70 product rather than $70.
Smart.
So we're going to try and do that. Like we'll have to get creative, obviously, to give out that much every month. But even just like sending like, like doesn't Coca-Cola have like a head office here somewhere? Like they must have a lot of employees. But just as an example, like find out the head count of these big companies that are, that we think are like-minded. Like, I don't know, like big companies and send.
Maybe you want to give away this to all your staff.
Yeah.
Like a Christmas gift.
Christmas gifts. Like we're actually doing that. We're sending Christmas gifts, discovery sets to like Ulta, Sephora, like all over the globe. Just like gonna gift them until they say yes.
We've got such a good product that you can sample. Like you can't sample a t-shirt.
Yeah.
Can't sample like, other products. And we're just fortunate that we've got this product that we can give away and that, there's 10 options of variations inside that product. And then like we've got good online and we've got good branding. So, eventually it's just the numbers game of just giving them out, but getting their details. It's just a volume thing.
So if you give away a discovery set, which has like the 10 mil files, how long is it generally? Like if, again, I don't know if you can track this data or if you know exactly how long, I'm sure you did, depending on how you gave away those discovery sets. How long is it for the people that come and purchase generally? What's the lag time between someone getting a discovery set and then purchasing a full size of their couple favorite scents?
You'd know that, wouldn't you?
Yeah, it's about 45 days.
Nice.
Yeah. So it was 90, which is way too long, 3 months, right? But because we had bad SMS, bad email, bad follow-ups, bad.
Yeah.
And like a really big goal was to just bring that number right down so we could like know, okay, more often than not, when we give these away 45 days later, we should get X amount back.
Yeah.
So
it'll be cool once you've done that, however many months in a row, and the
starts to
result
pile up.
and you're like, fuck, you should have started this earlier.
I'm regretting it.
Yeah.
But I think we're now ready to. We've got the machines now. Like we couldn't do that if we didn't have these new machines.
So was that a big investment for you guys in terms of the machinery to enable this growth?
Yeah.
Yeah. About 100 grand, two machines, 50 grand each.
And how many can they pump out in a day?
You do the little
1,500 an hour.
Oh, wow.
At least, yeah. So two machines going, it's 2,000 an hour. So it's a lot.
And how many were the team doing manually per hour could you pump out?
Oh, like they could maybe do 1,000 a day.
Yeah. Wow. This is crazy.
Yeah. And we're still behind.
Yeah.
And we are still behind. But so we only got the machine.
Second machine came 2 days ago.
Yeah. And the first one we got because of Priceline. We're like, fuck, let's buy this machine now.
Yeah.
But we didn't get the machine until after we fulfilled Priceline. So we only had it for a few months. Yeah.
Now, in terms of expansions, you've got Perfume X, that brand, but again, still in the same space. For Who is Elijah? I know I've heard you speak about a couple of different things, potential hotel licensing. Is that still on the cards for the future? Or?
Yeah. We actually, just before we came here, we got like these final samples for our hotel bottles and like shampoo, conditioner, body wash. But I don't think I'm allowed to say which hotel, but we are about to launch into like one of Sydney's best hotels.
Yeah. Is that going to be early next year or?
It was meant to be this month.
Meant to be this year.
So I'm hoping, I don't know, it keeps getting delayed, but it's definitely happening, and they've licensed our morning after fragrance. So all of like the hotel amenities will be morning after.
That's cool.
And then I actually got an email maybe it was Monday, a hotel in New York are reviewing our samples to pick a fragrance, hopefully.
Yeah.
And then it's like scaling up your sampling.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's just like the brand recognition. You don't really make money from being in those hotels, but you get really good free marketing and, especially the type of hotel, if you get really wealthy people in there, they see the branding, it does eventually come through.
Will you break even on it, do you think, or will it cost you anything?
It actually doesn't cost us anything. So we partnered with a company and they pay for everything and we actually get paid a royalty. Cool. I don't know how much they make. They obviously make money because they're a huge company, but we don't have to do any of the work, which is good. And I think we get like 10,000 a quarter or something.
And how did that come up? Was that something you guys went looking for, or was that an email that came to you guys?
No, they reached out to us. Yeah. Because I think hotels, they're like sort of wanting to find something different and like they love, like, I don't know if we're still an indie brand, but I'm sure to some people we are.
Compared to the big hotel
Compared
groups,
to the big ones,
like the brands that they would be running with.
Want something different. So really exciting.
And what about product expansion? Are you guys going to stick in the perfume space? Would you do other things potentially down the line? Or
I think because now we've got the company that's doing our hotel products, we can actually buy those products in bulk from them for us to sell as retail. So we are going to give that a trial with Morning After and Nightcap to begin with, just because they're the ones that we've made already. So we'll give that a go. My perfumer called me the other day. Actually, I forgot to tell you this. He wants to make really good candles. Yeah, because we did them once with another perfumer and they sucked and they were too expensive because he overcharged us. So Brad, our perfumer, he said that we can make a really good fragrance. Really good candle. So we'll start that early next year. What else? Really good fragrances next year.
Yeah. So there's more new fragrances.
More, and I think the girls put together like some random hats for
just like little fun merch
hats,
things,
but everyone wants them, and they did these tops and stuff that everyone wants. So I think a few people, like, we still think that Who Is Elijah is perfume, and it is, but Who Is Elijah, the name, it's not Who Is Elijah perfume. So a lot of people, some higher ups have said to us, you guys should probably start, or you not that you should start, but you could do other products, and it wouldn't be this like confusing thing of these guys sell cars and now they sell t-shirts. Like it's different. So I think that next year we're just really focused on being really good at what we've just built on, and introducing some cool new fragrances and body wash and things like that.
And start doing some like limited edition. Like, I've always been against it just because I fall in love with the fragrances and like my little baby.
Yeah.
But I do. We're going to trial one next year. One in, I forget which one it was, but one of the early ones. And see how that goes. And then if it's like so popular, which of course it's going to be, we can always bring it back. Maybe it's like, start being
bring it back the next week.
But also that's just going to, like, the hype factor is going to go crazy, right? So many brands recently, especially in fashion, have been built on hype and exclusivity and sold out and not bringing it back. So if you can replicate that in the fragrance space, then, or maybe it's like, you bring it out, for, one day, once a quarter, or how like Greta with the 5th used to, we only release, well, that's going to be loud on the microphone. We only release like on the 5th of every, like,
oh really? Is that what it?
At the start. Yeah. I'm actually wearing a little 5th watch. I just stole it off my missus. So, that's what made me think of it. But exciting. Now, in terms of big picture stuff, I know you chatted to this with Mark when you were on his podcast. Now, in terms of a potential exit down the line, it could be 5 years, 10, 20. You may fall in love and never want to let go of this baby. But what sort of things, like metrics, do you start looking at in terms of targets? How do you build a business with an exit in mind? Not that I'm thinking about exiting, but how do you build and scale a business that potentially you might get an offer, it might be another email, hey, we want to give you however many $100 million for this brand. How do you start preparing for that?
Wouldn't that be nice?
It's like,
especially today, I'm a little hungover, so that sounds nice. I think Adam is obviously the best person to have on the team because he does think like that. Not that we want to, but you just like naturally think like that.
Yeah, I think like you have to be ready all the time, I think. And if you like really break it down to the most simplistic like thing that you need to have for an exit, you need to be profitable, right? You can have branding, you can have all this cool stuff and a product that's fancy and everything. But if you do not make actual profit, then there's no value to you. You're a risk, So I look at like, I really like look up to like Simon from Culture Kings, Toby from Sweat, obviously, Nick from Afterpay and these guys, but Simon from Culture Kings a lot lately. And their numbers were, I think, 170 million in revenue at 15% net profit, like net profit, not gross profit, net profit. They were on this huge trajectory of growth at the time, which Mark actually, you know, reminded me was probably the most important part of it. We actually had our family picnic after the podcast and we talked more about it. But yeah, it's like, first of all, get your profit right, get your metrics right, and then how big do you think your brand can actually go? I believe Who Is Largely can be this big global brand and have the same impact that we have in Australia. We think that we're big in Australia, and obviously there's lots of noise around us, but from a customer base, we're not even scratching the surface yet. So emulating that in the US and the UK, not being everywhere, just working backwards from a revenue number of, I think it's 250 million at 20% net profit with, you know, big wholesale accounts locked in for the future. I think that's the $500 million exit.
Yeah. Crazy to think about. And was it, you recently got like a $20 million valuation? How did you guys, is that something you wanted to do? Someone just come and said?
Yeah, we had one of the partners who we work with sort of come to us and say, look, what you guys are doing is great. This is what I'm doing with you guys now, but this is what I do with a lot of other brands as well. What do you guys think about, you know, me coming in as a partner? And we sort of and we entertained it. And we put the valuation together and we sent it back to them. And I think that maybe they thought it was obviously both sides. One wants a higher valuation, one wants a low. We came in at a fair valuation based off other brands that had done similar exits recently. So the number landed at 20 million. And, you know, we wanted them to have, they wanted 10%. The number was too high for them. But now it's even higher. You know, now 6 months later, 8 months later, it's probably a good deal for them back then. So,
but we're glad that we didn't. We don't want to.
Yeah, I was going to say, why didn't you? Well, how did you guys come to the decision to say we'll just run it ourselves?
I would hate to be told what to do.
Could you imagine that in your own business as well?
Yeah, and I think, you know, at the time,
Paul. Sorry to cut you off. But Paul is like, he really doesn't want us to sell any of it unless it's like, you know, the big ticket.
Yeah.
But he was like, don't, but let's entertain it. But he's like, unless it is like an astronomical figure that they're willing to pay, like don't do it because you guys can do that by yourself. Like now it's like, it's quite easy to make $2 million. You know, not sound like an asshole, like an idiot, but like it wouldn't be worth down the track. We'd regret that 10% a lot.
And it would change things as well. And maybe take a little bit of the fun out of it, a little bit of the freedom.
And we had a call the other day with another investor that came into the office actually. And, you know, they were great. They're, you know, reputable, well-known, you know, e-commerce investor. And they.
Does the name start with D?
No, her name starts with K. Anyway, and they came in and they were like, yeah, it's all amazing. You guys are great, which is good. And then, you know, she sort of like slyly said, look, we only take 30 or 40%, you know, so like some other businesses we take 60 or 51 to 60%, but for you guys, we only take 30 or 40%. I'm like, and I just entertained it for 5 seconds. Then I emailed her straight back. I'm like, look, I'm sorry, but like, you know, the last offer we had was for 10%. There's no way I'm giving up 30%.
Yeah.
And, you know, she said, all we have is like a monthly meeting and then a weekly catch up. And then we call every now and then. I'm like, oh my God, no way.
Yeah.
We don't even have weekly catch ups in our own office. Like,
it takes so much of the love out of it. And like, Raquel, like, could you imagine you can't just, you know, have a crazy idea and jump on a plane the next day?
I'd hate it. I'd regret it. Obviously, there's probably something out there that would be amazing for us, and you know, we're not saying no forever, but I just think we're like on such like a good trajectory now and we're like finally starting to learn how to really run the business. It's like let's just give ourselves like a good chance at doing it by ourselves for
in terms of like
we can.
Park the valuation and cash injection. What strategic value would you want a partner to bring that would actually make you consider it?
Yeah. Well, look, I think someone that has like actual access into big retail, like not just like bullshit access that, I know the buyer at this. No, like you own the company and we are on the shelves immediately, like in 50,000 stores in the US. So if you're listening, like we're here, but like, but that's something like that would be very considered.
Yeah.
You know?
That's the hardest, I'm going to say the hardest part for us, but like, if you could get into those big retailers instantly, like you'd be laughing. But
something that you wouldn't be able to do yourself. It doesn't matter if it was in 2 years or in 3 years or in 5 years, which you can learn everything along the way. Yes. And you can get relationships along the way. Yes. So if the person has things that you can't do over those 5 years, then that's, worth thinking about.
Yeah, no, that's exactly the way I would approach it too. Particularly with the trajectory that you guys are on, you don't need to take the quick money just because when you're going to get there anyway. So final question as we wrap up, like what would your piece of advice be? I know it's going to be different for every couple and it seems like you guys do it in your own cool, fun, unique way. But in terms of people going into business with their partner, what would your advice be to navigate that?
I don't know. Everyone's so different. Every relationship's different. I don't think there's a one answer fits all. Stay in your own lane. I think if we were both doing what Adam's doing or both doing it, probably wouldn't work. I mean, sometimes it might work, but I think if it's like quite separate, I don't know. I don't want to say like we treat each other like colleagues because that's not true, but I don't know. Like just don't fight.
Yeah.
And like,
I think for us,
how's your relationship before going to business?
Going in.
Like we
really
never
important.
fight. Very open communication, the both of us.
Yeah. And I think for us, it works really well because we both know what's going on.
Yeah.
So people are always confused by like, we spend all day together, all night together, and we're still trying to find more time to spend together, like outside of those hours, which is 0 hours outside of those hours, right? We're still trying to find more time with each other. But if we lived separate business lives and we came home and she was crazy stressed and I was crazy stressed and the kids are crazy and everything's upside down and you want attention from the other person, but you don't know what they're going through, it causes trouble.
You'd fight more.
You'd fight a lot. And not that that's worst case, but that's what happens day to day. For us, there's definitely been times the last 12, 18 months, 2 years where we've been so fucking stressed at home. And it's like the tears and all sorts of different things. And if I wasn't in the business at that time, I'd obviously be sympathetic and it's your wife, but it's like, what about me? And she would be the same. What about me? Why is this taking all of your energy? And because I can sit there and know her calendar and I know everything that's going on in her life in work, I know exactly when to come into the house and take the kids and go and not want anything else other than for her to have a relaxing time.
Yeah. Do you guys, when you are hanging out, having your, weekends away, little staycations, do you guys find it hard to not talk about work? Or?
I don't know what we would talk about if we didn't have work.
But we don't want to talk about the shit stuff. And again, because we do separate stuff, we'll talk about what we're doing, but then it kind of makes it exciting because it's not like we've already heard it before, I guess. But we more so, I feel like we talk about the fun stuff, the exciting stuff. We're not sitting there talking about the shit. Yeah,
we're not talking, and we've sort of gotten to a little bit of a bigger point now where we're not in each other's day-to-day tasks anymore. So there's she said 3 things already that I didn't even know have happened. I just told her about the app that she didn't even know is happening. It's the day-to-day, little intricacies that you can get caught up in frustrations is just not part of our life anymore. So we can, most of the time when we're at dinner or we're out, we're talking about the big exciting things that we want to do. Yeah. And, in 12 months time, Black Friday next year, who will we be? Or, what is it going to happen when Alta calls? And it's these big exciting things because we're sort of confident within ourselves as a team that we can handle it and that the little stuff doesn't matter. It's let's talk about the big stuff.
There's a lot of that will just relate regardless if you're married or if you're just business partners. And a big part of it, just listening to you guys speak, is trusting the other person to do their role and giving them the freedom and the complete trust and get behind them to do that.
Yeah.
And then a lot of times when business partners go wrong, they don't do that.
Yeah.
So, and I guess it's even doubly important when you're married and you go home, sleep in the same bed. So thanks for sharing all that. We'll have to do a part 3 when there's $100 million valuation. Maybe it's next year.
Yeah.
Might have to do one around Black Friday every year.
Yeah.
So where's the update? How much have you grown? But for everyone listening, where's the best place to find you guys and your fragrances?
Our website, we've got many websites now. So it is whoiselijah.com.au and it'll divert you wherever you need to go. Instagram, we're at whoiselijah parfum. David Jones, Sephora, Priceline, everywhere.
Ulta soon, hopefully.
Ulta soon.
Yeah.
But thanks guys.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Good luck for tomorrow and the weeks ahead for Black Friday, Q4 in general.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
Thanks, man.
All right, guys, thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this episode or you got something out of it, do yourself a favor, do me a favor, do your friends a favor and share this with them, and they can come along on this journey with us. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.